When did you realize you never stood a chance against your partner's ex? In Korean families, how you're introduced reveals everything because girlfriend means future wife, while friend means you're temporary. And after 3 years with James, I'd learned exactly which category I belonged to. My boyfriend James had the kind of backstory that made you understand why his parents' approval consumed him. His mother had scrubbed restaurant floors for 16-hour days, while his father delivered newspapers at dawn, saving every penny to escape poverty and soul. They'd sacrificed their youth building an empire so their children could have choices they never did. These two people had given him everything, so of course I understood why James couldn't disappoint them. When he introduced me as friend for the 47th time, I reminded myself that love meant being patient with someone else's fears even when they hurt you. But patience has limits, and mine shattered the night Mina walked through his parents' door. She'd flown in from Seoul for his sister's wedding, and his mother's face transformed into something I'd never seen in 3 years of trying. "Everyone, you remember Mina, the one who got away?" she announced, pulling her into the seat beside James where I usually sat before learning my place. I ended up at the table's edge with his teenage cousins, watching as his mother kept touching Mina's arm while asking about her life and parents. Every time I tried to join the conversation, someone would talk over me. I mentioned my promotion, and his aunt suddenly needed to discuss tomorrow's rain. "James always said you were the perfect girlfriend," his mother told Mina, using the word she'd never used for me. James laughed that nervous laugh I knew too well, and he looked over at me. That's when Mina finally noticed me. She tilted her head asking, "So who's your friend?" James hesitated just long enough for everyone to notice. "Just someone from work." The words, "someone from work," burned through the silent car ride home. James shifted uncomfortably and launched into defenses about his parents being from a different generation. When I didn't respond, he said, "You're making this bigger than it is." Everything I'd been holding back poured out. I'd been his friend at 47 family events while his boss called me his girlfriend. His coworkers saved me seats and American friends bet on our wedding date. But the second we crossed his parents' threshold, I vanished completely. I was real everywhere except where I desperately needed to matter. Just then, in the nick of time, his phone buzzed with Mina's name. He read it, then actually asked. My parents invited her to extend her stay. Would it be weird if she stayed with them? We'd been together 3 years, and he was asking permission to house his ex. My promotion party arrived 2 weeks later, and I'd already decided exactly how this would go. James showed up late, finding me by the bar with my CEO, who immediately smiled at him with recognition. "This must be the boyfriend Sarah's always talking about," she said warmly. I felt James relax beside me, his hand moving toward my back in that familiar way, but I stepped slightly forward and delivered the words I'd practiced in my mirror for days. "Actually, this is James. Just some guy I know from around." His face went through the same confusion I'd felt 100 times. My coworker Lisa walked over looking puzzled, clearly about to ask about our living situation, but I was already turning away. I touched Marcus's arm the way James's mother had touched Mina's, introducing him with the warmth James had never given me. When James tried to pull me aside, I pretended not to notice. I let him stand there shrinking into himself while everyone wondered who he was to me. Finally, he understood what being erased felt like. We barely made it to my apartment before he confronted me. He loosened his tie with that same nervous energy from dinner, asking why I'd introduced him that way. But this wasn't confusion anymore. His voice had an edge I'd never heard, sharp and mean. "You humiliated me on purpose." I set my purse down slowly and watched 3 years of patience fall apart between us. My hand stayed steady, but my voice shook when I told him about 47 family dinners where I didn't exist. He walked back and forth in my living room, making each step harder than the last. His face got ugly when I mentioned how his mother called Mina girlfriend, but never used that word for me. That's when he turned mean and brought up Mina's name like she was everything I could never be. She would never pull desperate stunts because she understood respect and family. The way he said her name made me feel sick because I suddenly knew she wasn't leaving. "She's staying, isn't she?" My voice sounded empty and strange. He stopped walking and let the silence stretch before admitting his parents had offered her a job at their restaurant. They wanted family they could trust. When I asked if I wasn't family after 3 years, he finally looked at me with the anger gone from his face. Something worse had replaced it. He told me his parents had been introducing him to Korean girls for months behind my back. This started before Mina even showed up. My legs felt weak when I mentioned finding his engagement ring searches. He looked away and his voice got quiet. My mother picked it out. "For whoever I eventually choose. The wedding's in 6 months. The venue's booked. The date's circled on their calendar. Everything's decided except the bride." Full story on channel, link below.